A one and a two and a chick-a-boom a chick.
In this podcast, you are going to hear me being interviewed by Jayme Dill as part of our Contractors Success Advantage series. We're going to dive into specifically how to better qualify your remodeling leads and just some really solid best practices related to the initial phone call with a new prospect. Jayme is high energy. We are kindred spirits in a lot of ways of how we look at business and how we are encouraging you, the listener, the remodeler, to take action and improve your business. If you listen to nothing else, listen to the first about 2.5 minutes of our recording where we both make a bit of a passionate plea for you to implement and do instead of just hear new ideas. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome. This is Jayme Dill. I am your host for Contractor Success Advantage, where we are committed to offering real-world, pragmatic business solutions for you and your business. So in this series, we're bringing together top industry experts who are offering you tools, tips, advice that you can start to implement today in your business. Because remember, as great as any of these ideas may be, they will not make a difference in your business unless you implement them. So get at it, guys. And I know our guest today is going to give you some awesome tools that you can start with right away. So we're fortunate to have Kyle Hunt with us today. Kyle is the owner of Remodel Your Marketing, and for the last 10 years, he's worked with remodelers and builders to help them transform their sales processes and implement proven practical marketing systems into their businesses. So Kyle lives in Michigan with his wife, Sarah, and their 4 children. Welcome, Kyle.
Thank you for having me. Can I even just start out by saying, people, stop what you're listening to right now, rewind it to about 30 seconds ago where Jayme said, these ideas are worthless unless you do something with them and implement them. Hear that loud and clear. What you guys don't need is more ideas and more ideas. We've got enough
information.
Ideas. We've got to implement. We've got to prioritize them. What we lack a lot of times is we need to prioritize what's most important for us to work on, and then we just need to pick one thing and implement, test, try, do. So I wanted to make sure they heard that loud and clear. I'm like, wait a minute, she's saying exactly what I say, but it's like in a female voice. It's like weird.
Yeah, I actually, I have been quoted on the internet, so I'm practically famous on this exact topic right now because I was talking to another friend who runs a coaching business, and I said, ideas don't make money. And he said, what are you talking about? Ideas don't make money. I'm like, ideas don't make money. And so we get in a little tussle about that. I'm like, no, implementation of ideas makes money. And so he quoted me on that. Yes, I'm feeling like very full of myself. This was like 10 years ago. Okay,
still living off that.
My 1 minute of fame. Yeah. So let's go right in today because I know you have so much wealth of information. We can talk about marketing. We can talk about pipelines. We can talk about budgets. There's so much that you do that we can talk about. But what I really want to have us focus in today is the guys are busy. We're really busy. There is opportunity out there. People keep telling me more work than I can do. There's more opportunity than I have time to pursue this. So I know from talking to you that you really look at this as an opportunity to fine-tune your sales process, specifically how important qualifying leads is right now. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about that and how important that is and how you help people do that.
Yeah. So I have not really found a bigger bang for the buck in my coaching work and working with remodelers than taking somebody who's doing the initial phone call with a new prospect in kind of a haphazard, non-thoughtful, non-systematic way and taking them from that to really having a solid plan and process that they have for the initial phone call. That transformation from being kind of sloppy, not taking the initial call seriously, to doing it in a very elegant, professional way is really the biggest impact that I have seen, bang for the buck, to take it from messy to professional. So that's what I want to talk about today is kind of the before and the during and the after the initial phone call you have with a prospect. So if we want to jump right into it, I'm going to start with the before. Is that cool?
Yeah, that sounds great.
So let's do it. So a lot of times if we get a lead in, let's kind of say that this lead is maybe coming through our website. Maybe you didn't answer the phone, you got a voicemail, and you've got just a little bit of information about them. If it came through your website, perhaps you've got their name, you've got their phone number, you've got their email address, you've got their address. Even just note their email address. A lot of times if they work for a company, it's Kyle at, in my case, Remodel Your Marketing. I'm going to look up their company. What does this person do? The thought of before you talk to them to do a little bit of research. We have technology at our fingertips that salespeople 15, 25, 35 years ago never could have considered, imagined, right? Go to LinkedIn, type in their name. When I work with remodelers, if you're dealing with a engineer versus a stay-at-home mom, let's say, do we approach selling them a little bit differently? Perhaps. Is that good information for me to have of what they do for a living? Yes, right? That helps me understand who they are. I'm going to go to Google and just search their name. Maybe it shows some of the organizations they're a part of. Maybe there's just some information about them. I'm going to click on Google Maps. I'm going to put their address in there and just do a quick perusal of that. Is this an established neighborhood? A neat and tidy neighborhood? Is it high and low? And I'm going to look and see, okay, their house is kind of in the back corner of the lot. It looks like they've had an addition done in the past. Just with a couple minutes of research, you can find out a decent amount about them, about their home. Click on Zillow. Is the Zestimate precise always? No. But can I know if this house was sold 3 years ago? And do I know the selling price? Or do I know that they've lived there for 20 years? Yeah, that information's out there. And then maybe lastly, as you're just clicking around doing a little bit of research, you can click on Facebook, right? And some people immediately go, oh, what, are you going to Facebook stalk them? No. But when I type in somebody's name on Facebook, I would say 6 or 7 times out of 10, their profile pops up. And a lot of times there's photos that I can view. There's some interests that I can view. Depending on their settings, there's some of their recent posts. I can just get to know them a little bit. I can kind of see how they roll, their lifestyle. I can see if they're a family person. I can just find out stuff about them. Now, especially that Facebook thing. Let's say I go there and I see they're a big Detroit Tigers fan. It's spring training time. It's about time the baseball's starting. Am I going to show up at their door and say, "How about those Tigers?" No, not necessarily, right? You're playing with a little bit of fire here, right? But
I like that. That is a little scary, right?
Yes, you don't want to be obnoxious. You're playing with fire here. But as a salesperson, I think I'm a good enough salesperson. I think the people that are listening to this are smart enough and wise enough to know that, having that information in my back pocket, it's just like when we walk up or we drive up to their house, we notice if they have bumper stickers. We notice if they're supporting the Michigan Wolverines. We notice little things like that. And we just put that in our back pocket and we use it, throughout the process. So the thought when we think about the initial phone call with a new prospect, what I just kind of shared there was some ideas related to before we even pick up the phone and talk to them. There's a wealth of information that just 5-6 minutes of clicking through can really prepare you better for who this is, more about their home. And it's a step that I see often just skipped or neglected.
I like that. And I also like, because I can hear kind of people thinking, I barely have time to call them back. Why am I going to be doing the research? There's so much there. But I literally just hung up the phone with a client talking about the power of a 2-minute transition preparation time. And taking like 2 minutes, you said 2 to 3 minutes, 5 to 6 minutes. And the difference that makes in the quality of the results that you're able to produce, once you really get that, you do not worry about investing that 2 to 5 minutes.
No, it's a smart.
Smart investment of time. And I find sometimes we all have to learn that through trial and error. Try it the way Kyle is suggesting right here. Try it on your next 2 calls, and then try it your old way. See what works.
Some might say
different results.
Implement. Some might even say implement. Do. Try. Right? What do you have to lose?
I was trying to use a different word and trick them into implementing. Yeah.
Oh, just do it.
So
just do it. So the other thing about this initial phone call is if somebody says, I don't have 5 or 6 minutes to do that, what we need to understand is that this initial phone call with a new prospect is way more important than you give it credit for. It's the first impression. It's how you're starting to show your points of difference and what makes you different. It is you qualifying a prospect and figuring out on that initial phone call that it's not a good fit, spending a little bit more time, asking questions, getting to know them better. This isn't a 3-minute phone call. If it's a 3-minute phone call, you're doing it wrong. You're not getting enough information out there. You're chasing all of your leads. And this is a time where you can protect your time by qualifying them a little bit. Qualifying is not a bad word. You need to protect your time. We can't chase every opportunity that we have. Time is our most valuable asset. So, I don't have time to do 4 or 5. Yeah, I don't have 4 or 5 minutes to do research. Then you're not taking this initial phone call as serious as you should, which kind of parlays me into the during portion of what I wanted to share, if that's cool.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's go into it because that qualifying is so important. Yeah.
So five quick tips related to the initial phone call, and this first one was kind of hinting or rubbing against what we were just saying. The first one is get in the right mindset. If you are making your initial phone call back to your prospect while you're driving around, that's not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. And I get it. I have empathy. I understand it. I work with remodelers and contractors. I understand that we're busy. I understand we're going from job to job. But again, hear me loud and clear, who's been doing this for 10 plus years, only coaching, only working with remodelers on a detailed basis to try to get them to improve their sales process. Hear me loud and clear when I say we can't be distracted. We can't be driving around. We can't be multitasking. There is just such a difference between kind of being focused and 100% being focused. As I'm delivering this content right now as we're talking, I have nothing else in my mind. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb. My email is turned off. I am 100% focused on this. If I was kind of multitasking, my voice wouldn't sound like this. I wouldn't be as into it. I wouldn't, the ideas that I wanted to share wouldn't come across as clearly. And so when we're driving around, we're distracted. We're not thinking 100% about the call. So get in the right mindset is the first thing. Don't be driving. Don't be multitasking. Did you know that you can hear a smile through the phone?
Yeah, it's
you
fascinating.
can.
I learned that in my first sales training at the consulting company that it trained me. We had mirrors and we would have to smile before we picked up the phone. It was it was cornball, but it works. The fake it till you make it, get your mind there. It's corny and it works. Yeah.
You ever been on the phone with somebody who's kind of distracted and grumpy? Like you can hear it clear as day. Yeah. Again, this is your first impression.
I'm intuitive. My clients think I'm intuitive because I'm like, can you stop reading emails or whatever? They'll be like,
right.
How did you know?
Hello. Yeah.
The only difference now is I don't know if it's an email or a text or what app is popping up, but I know
I've gotten to the point where I know the sounds. So I'm like, why are you creating an invoice in QuickBooks? I heard the bloop. I know the sounds enough, and they're like, crap. So that first one.
So the importance of mindset. Can I loop you back here because I hear what you're saying about focus, getting your full attention there, having the right mindset, and also what you were talking about chasing leads versus qualifying leads. What I find fascinating is in this world of overwhelm, where we have more leads than more work than we can do, people are still going into this first call with that subtle chasing mentality and not wanting to go into, you must see it because you even said qualifying is not a bad word, but people really not getting this first call is the place to get out of that chasing mentality and get into, I'm a professional with more work than I can do, and I want to do a good job for you. And in order to do that, I need to make sure that we're a really good match for each other.
Yes. Yeah.
i.e. qualified, right?
And starting out by saying, do you have 10 minutes or so to talk? That's even just a different way to start the conversation because what they're expecting is a 3-minute conversation. They're going to say, yes, we're interested in the kitchen remodel. Great, that's what we do. What's your address? and does next Tuesday at 2 o'clock work? That's what they're expecting. So even just starting off by saying, do you have 10 or 15 minutes to talk right now? That changes the dynamic and the tone and the approach of the conversation. So that was kind of tip number one. Tip number two is have some type of project discovery sheet. Have some type of lead intake form. Do not pull out a blank sheet of paper. Have a process that you follow. And that process is not so that you can sound like a robot. We're going to sound normal, but we're also going to have a little bit of a process in front of us so that we do remember to ask them, how did you hear about us? We do remember to ask them questions like, what's your desired time frame for the project? What do you know about our business? Questions like that just to get started and getting into, how long have you been thinking about this project? How long have you guys owned the home? What kind of projects have you done in the past? Let me pause on that one. So one of my clients that I've just started working with, he's in Iowa, and I said, hey, are you pulling out a blank sheet of paper or do you have a project discovery sheet? He said, I'm just pulling out a blank sheet of paper. I'm like, okay, let's fix that. And the next phone call he did, I sent over the project discovery sheet, and the next phone call he did, he asked the question, what kind of projects have you done in the past? And he said, Kyle, I hesitate to tell you this because you're going to hammer me every time in the future if I ever go back to using a blank sheet of paper. But I asked that one question, and all of a sudden she just started talking. She shared about this, that, the other. She talked about that previous project going okay, but the schedule went way over, the budget went way over. Yeah. In their case, what she said in particular is that we had a designer and we had a builder, and they weren't the same person. That caused a lot of trouble. My client's a design build company. I mean, he's just listening to all of this, and she threw out the budget number that they're looking for this project. So asking questions is just so vital. And when you have a process in front of you and the questions in front of you, it just makes it so much easier to be successful with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And, I've been doing this work for 25 years, pretty similar work that I do. Mm-hmm. I did a first client meeting a couple days ago. I pull out my checklist, my equivalent of a project discovery.
Exactly.
Can I, quote, unquote, do this in my sleep? Probably. Do I want to? No. I want to be awake, alive, with the right attitude, and knowing that I have the structure and the tools in front of me that will support me in delivering 200% for my client. And in this call, same thing. Otherwise I'm leaving it to myself. If it's a great day, I'm going to nail it and remember all the questions. Right. If it's a, kind of not great day, I might miss out some important questions.
And it depends on the person you're talking to. They might have a strong personality. They may try to kind of take control of the conversation. And we don't want to be we want anything. We want to be so remotely away from being pushy, but we also don't want to be walked over. There's the word I use is we want to elegantly lead the conversation, and by having some structure to it, that helps tremendously. The third thing that just the 5 tips. The third one is just kind of keep your goal in mind. If your goal is to sell them, it's going to kind of come across as that. If your goal and your approach to this call is to serve them, is to help them, is to listen, to guide them, to educate them, and really just to uncover if you might be a good fit for them, it just has a different tone. It has a different feel to it. So that's a good thought. Number 4, make sure it's more them than you talking. I don't know if it should be 70-30. I'm not sure exactly what the statistic should be, but the majority of the conversation should be them talking rather than you talking. And what that means is you're asking a lot of questions. You're getting them to open up to you. And you're going to get people that it's really easy to get them to open up. There's going to be some that are a little tougher to crack. And that's where you just got to keep practicing this. Time invested in improving this initial phone call and your skill at it and the way that you handle it is just time very, very well invested. Yeah. And then the 5th item, is just after every sales call, after every initial phone call, if you can just take a minute and just think about what worked and what didn't, while it's fresh in your mind, and you think back on it, you're like, man, they just mentioned that they just moved here from out of town, and I just totally bypassed it. I could have said, oh, where did you guys move from? And then all of a sudden, that could have been some type of personal connection. Really? My cousin lives there. I was just there last month. There's just so much that can happen when we just kind of are inquisitive, that we're just letting those opportunities just pass by. So, think about what worked. Man, I really explained our process well. Or, what didn't work? I didn't even ask them what they were looking to invest in the project. I had a clear picture in my head of what their project looks like, so I could have given them kind of a ballpark idea, but then I didn't even ask them that. So what worked, what didn't, as you complete these calls is another good tip.
This is amazing. So one of the things that so you just shared 5 things that I know from personal experience and from coaching people can transform that call. 5 simple things. And also 5 things that this is meant in no offense, it's actually more of a compliment, that not rocket science, not new technology. This is, and when I say that, I mean that as a compliment, because what I use is tried and true tools. The challenge, though, as we were talking about implementation earlier, the challenge is people can get in this mindset of, yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that. I don't care if you know it. Are you doing it, right? If people listening will do 3 of these 5 in their next call, write a checklist, you guys, from your notes on this. Write a checklist and use Kyle's coaching here and take that checklist into your next call and do these 5 things. And email Kyle and tell him thank you after you get a better result. All right, sorry, I'm on my tangent here.
Yes, I would love that.
You have more to tell us, though. Love that call, though. Yeah,
or what also happens is, I used to do that, and then you fall away from it. We get busy, we don't put it as a priority. Just go back to the things that work and be just a little bit more professional, a little bit more strategic. Think about it, do it, try it, test it. Kyle, that's a bunch of crap. You can never talk about the budget on the initial phone call. Really? I know dozens and dozens and dozens of remodelers who do it, right? How do they do it? How do they phrase it? If you listen to what I said clearly, you would even have heard I said, if you're asking enough questions, you have a clear picture of their project in your mind. Now, if they're doing an addition project and it's really complicated, that's tough. But if it's a kitchen project and you've asked about the age of the home, you've asked about if walls or plumbing are getting moved, you asked about kind of what they're looking to do and that, their cabinets don't go up to the ceiling, there's a little soffit up there, and you've asked all these questions, chances are there's some projects that are similar to that you've done that are starting to come to your mind, and you're starting to get a little bit of a ballpark range that's going on. And then and only then can you ask, what are you looking to invest in this project? And they might say, well, I have no idea. That's why we're asking you. And then you can say, well, there's so many different variables here and so many different selections, but based on our experience, based on a couple projects that are coming to my mind that are similar to yours, this project could range anywhere from dot to dot. How does that sound to you? And then you zip your mouth, right? So even things that are difficult, like that's a very difficult thing to do on the initial phone call. When you practice it, when you get better at it, when you figure out how to connect with people, it's something to practice and get better at. And again, I don't know of any more important part of the process than this to get better at. So, all right, there's my little rant there. So that was we talked about before, we talked about during, and then just in our last couple minutes, let's talk about just the after. So the big thing I want you guys to keep in mind here is between that initial, just a very practical idea, just between that initial phone call and the in-person meeting, there should be an email that's going out from you to them. It can be pretty simple as, thank you so much for contacting us. We look forward to our appointment next Tuesday at 2:00. In the meantime, if you can just take a look at a few of the links below, and maybe you have like a what to expect at the first meeting document. You can have maybe our process document. You can have a link to your website. For remodelers, if it makes sense in your area, you might link to like Remodeling Magazine's cost versus value report. Maybe you point them to House and say, if you can create an idea book before I come out, that would be wonderful. Whatever the case is, just having a nice professional email template that you can use and send to them between the initial phone call and the in-person meeting, it just shows that you're professional. Most likely anybody else they're talking to doesn't do it. It shows that you're organized. You've got your stuff together. So that's the one after item that I wanted to make sure we highlight. Which is
sending that email, showing that you're professional, showing that you're organized, showing that you have your stuff together. The good news, bad news about the construction industry, in your case, I don't know if you see it specifically as much in the remodeling industry. I would imagine so, especially right now when everybody's busy. Just by doing what to me seem like the basics of being professional, following up, being organized, have your stuff together, you'll stand out and above, head and shoulders above 90% of the people that are out there. by sending something as simple as that email. Have a little logo letterhead on your ego. That was a good Freudian slip. Have a logo on your email, and you just rose above 99% to that point, something like that. Yeah.
Keep it simple. The fundamentals. So whether we're talking here it's 2018 or it's 2028, 2038, technology is going to continue to go. But in the contracting world, it's that relationship and that one-to-one interaction is still going to rule the day. And that is the case with our industry is such where the bar is not set high. So if you're just one level above crappy, you stand out. Oh, how often have we heard, oh, you actually called me back. Oh, thank you. Let alone you sound organized. You sound like you have a process. You are friendly. You said you were going to send that email between the initial phone call and the in-person meeting, and you sent it. You showed up on time. Oh, you took your shoes off. Like just basics. Don't lose sight of that. Just keep drilling that into you, your team, your company, the fundamentals. That is the quote-unquote magic bullet. It's just a combination of a lot of little things. That's what makes a successful contracting and remodeling business.
Yeah, I love that. And, one of the things that I find fascinating is I love the way you said it, the bar is not set high. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what side of that coin you're on at any given moment, that is absolutely true. And the fundamentals, no matter what industry you're in or what size. I have another business in a different industry altogether, fairly high-tech, competitive industry, and they're an $80 million business. I coach a lot of the leaders in there. Just a kind of a side thing I got into is a bizarre little thing.
Little side hustle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of the things I find fundamental, though, I'm coaching, pretty senior executive level people. We're talking about the same kind of stuff.
Yep.
Fundamentals. Now, they have all kinds of technology and crazy strategies around it, but it's the essential fundamentals that I'm coaching on that are making the foundational difference. So,
yep, exactly.
Kyle, I love talking to you because, well, first off, as you started our call together, you and I are singing from the same page philosophically of really what it takes to run a good business and what it takes to, create a good life from that good business. So thank you for being here. I know just like me, who I'm always, every time I talk to you, I want more of your time, more of this, more of that. But how I know you also have a way for other people who are interested in getting in touch with you and staying in contact with you, learning more from you. You have an offer for them. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so there's going to be a link around this audio, I'm sure, and just 3 powerful sales tracking and follow-up templates and resources. So I talked about the project discovery sheet. That was one of the things I wanted to give you a copy of. If you're pulling on a blank sheet of paper, that can help you with that. And the other thing that we didn't talk about today, but it's just tracking our sales. Our sales pipeline, how can we easily, effectively do that? And then another little resource that you can grab is something called a what to expect at our first meeting. And that's something that you can include in that initial email, and you can just grab that template and run with it.
Oh, that sounds great. When you were talking about the what to expect at the first meeting, I'm like, that is such a great tool, and a tool I think that sometimes people are intimidated by. How do I start to put that together? So awesome resource for
And then
them.
one other item is if you go to Facebook and you just type in Remodelers with an S community, Remodelers community, it's just a free private Facebook group. I have about 300 people in it, and there's just a lot of good ideas, tips, a lot of interaction between everybody that you might enjoy as well.
Excellent. Thank you. And thank you once again for being here with us for today, and thank you for your work that you do. It's important work, and I know it helps a lot of business owners, so thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So if you enjoyed listening to this recording, I have a hunch that you would really enjoy being a participant in Remodelers Community. It is a private Facebook group, free of charge. I have a lot of my remodeling clients in there. I have a lot of people who have just followed my work for a number of years. And the conversation is on a variety of topics on how to improve your remodeling business. a lot of just great people willing to share a lot of ideas, templates, tools. Did I mention it's free of charge? Go to remodelerscommunity.com and it'll redirect you right to where you can request to join the private Facebook group. remodelerscommunity.com. I'll see you on there.